the electricity rate was 450 naira per kilowatt. You understand? I was spending about 100k every 5 days.
God, I beg.
If you compare rent in Nigeria to neighboring Ghana, Benin Republic, Ivory Coast, we are cheaper than not even Burkina Faso. Nigerian rent is cheaper than all these other countries. But when multiple people make the same complaint about the same people, you should, calm down and think about why these people are doing like that. Because all the landlords want money. So there's no way landlord is rejecting money and you think it's just because it's tribalistic.
And I wasn't attacking you. I just had a lot of questions.
You know what? Maybe just needs to go and talk to a landlord after this. Call your landlord and be like, sir, it's like you're mad. Hello, people. Welcome to a brand new episode of OffAir with
Gbemi.
And I'm Toolz.
What's up?
Welcome. How have you been? You good? Oh my gosh. I saw the craziest thing just about a few days ago. I saw this girl. She was looking for, she's on a hunt for a place to stay in Lagos.
Hey, that's
Some of the places...
It's not easy.
I just was like, oh my God. And some of them didn't look safe. Like literally just, it looked like it was an uncompleted building, or it just looked like it
trap.
was, it looked like the house was just like rickety and stuff. And I was just like, damn,
There was
this whole finding a property to rent in Lagos is not for the faint-hearted.
Someone should do like a reality show. There's this actor, Emeka, he's light skinned, I've forgotten his surname. One of the newer actors, one of the younger actors. He had been looking for a flat for a long time, like 6 months. He finally found one. So he did a video where he knelt on his 2 knees and played like gospel music and was thanking God. Obviously, I mean, he was joking, but at the same time, I knew that there was, and the people were like, why are you being so dramatic? And it was like, if you reach your turn, don't thank God. You know how difficult it is to find a suitable, affordable, livable place in Lagos, at least where we live. It's not easy, and we're going to be talking about that. So watch out.
Absolutely.
Our guest is in the studio, a real estate developer. Welcome, Mr Duru Bond.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, we have a lot to discuss. Last year, I don't know, I'll dig up the tweet. Last year, I tweeted, so it's like people are happy with the way rent is increasing in Lagos, right? Something like that. And and it went viral, and people started talking about how their rents, not just in Lagos, but across the country, especially Abuja, had increased. I know people whose rent increased by ×2, ×3, ×5, and so on. What is happening? Can you break it down to us? What exactly is the cause for this crazy increase?
All right. So before I go into that, something else that trended a couple of years ago was people saying building a house for rent is a bad investment. Why do you think they said that?
I don't know.
Because the returns are poor.
Okay.
That there are better, not then, even till now, there are better things you could have put your money into.
Okay.
So even if you go on Twitter, you see, even I'm sure even this year somebody has tweeted that too. So if you're complaining that the rents are too high, wouldn't it mean that more people will be building houses for rent? But a lot of people are not building houses for rent. They would rather put their money in stocks, in mutual funds and everything, because they believe that the returns there are better. So my point is, the rents are not as bad. Yes, they are high when you're comparing them to our current earnings. But when you're talking about the returns on investment for the investors, the landlords, it's not as high as people claim.
So are you saying that basically building to rent out and get that rental income, it's not a lucrative business?
So it depends on how you choose to look at it. Now, the complaint here is that rents are high. Mm-hmm. Now, if rents are high, meaning that people that own houses for rent are making a lot of money. And a lot of people will be building houses for rent. But I'm saying if you go online, another conversation you see, aside from people complaining about the high cost of rent, is people saying that building a house for rent is a bad investment because the returns are poor. So if you're saying that the rents are high, you can also say the returns are poor. So the point I'm trying to make basically is that when you compare it to the value of the property itself, rents are not high. Rents are not high. The problem is the cost of the land and the cost of the construction. That's where the problem is, not the rent itself.
Okay. I am no economist, but let's break this down.
All right.
There is a home somewhere in Bagada. The rent is 2 million naira. it's been like that for the past 2 or 3 years. And then Mr. Landlord or Mrs. Landlord calls or writes a letter and says, hello, Mr. ABC or Mrs. ABC, we're now increasing your rent from 2 million to 10 million. And the tenants are perplexed because, again, you've done ×5 of their rent. The building already exists. So why are you increasing the rent? Do you understand my point?
I get you.
Why?
The building is an asset, right? And an asset increases over time.
So
it doesn't
appreciates or depreciates.
Appreciates.
Isn't it against the law to just take up the rent like that? There's a law.
There's no law that
There's
controls.
no law. There's no percentage.
No.
So you can wake up tomorrow, the rent that is 2M, and say that it is 25 today.
I thought
There's no law that
it was like about 20% or something. No,
so there's no law. So what happens in developed countries is that they tag rent increase to inflation. So a country like Canada will say you cannot increase your rent above 2% of inflation. Mm-hmm. So let's say inflation in the country is 5%. The maximum a landlord can increase it is 7%, so 2 plus the 5. Mm-hmm. So there's no law like that in Nigeria. Now, even if that law exists, you know that 2024, our inflation flew to like 40-something percent. Mm-hmm. So if you put that same law here, the landlords are also valid for increasing the rent as they did, because the law says, okay, you can increase it by the factor of inflation and then some. Mm-hmm. So if you calculate how much your rent has increased, you see that it actually follows the inflation that happened between 2023, 2024 and last year, 2023 and 24.
But if you said 2 million to 10 million, that is way more.
No, that is an example. That is an exaggeration.
Okay.
So most likely it did not happen.
It happened.
From 2 to 10 million.
With my 2 eyes. I saw it. I just don't want to mention names, but I saw it with my 2 eyes.
When did they pay the last rent? I mean, when did they move? When did they start paying that 2 million? How many years?
I think they started paying the 2 million, I think, just before the pandemic. And then all of a sudden in 2025, the landlord now says, the landlord had already said, I'm going to increase the rent soon. He kept saying, I'm going to increase the rent soon, but he didn't do it year by year. And then 2025, he goes, so ×5, 10 million.
So that's 6 years.
And then you are now saying to people that you didn't increase rent, small by small is your business. But you are now telling someone whose income hasn't gone up by ×5 to pay you, and then at the same time you also don't want Yahoo Boy. So where do you want Mr. Mukaila, who works in maybe a finance firm, to get this money from?
So that's what I'm saying. So the problem is not the rent itself. The problem is that our income has not increased as rapidly as inflation, and the rent have also increased. So that is the problem. If you compare rent in Nigeria to neighboring Ghana, Benin Republic, Ivory Coast, we are cheaper than not even Burkina Faso. Nigerian rent is cheaper than all these other countries. So the problem that we have is that our earnings are not going as fast as the rents are going up. But the fact is that the rents are not actually expensive. When you compare it to the building cost and then across.
But in terms of, like you said, in terms of what people are earning here, I dabble in, real estate. And one of the things that I've had to look at is, okay, fine. Like you said, this building is an asset. It has, in the last, how many years, it has appreciated, to this value now. And the idea is to obviously increase it in an affordable way. So rather than literally go from 2M to 10M, I just think that's very unfair, because essentially if you're doing that, means get out my house. That's essentially, if I'm renting for 2, and then you go from literally 1 year's 2 to 10, and it's not like, there's a pool on top of the roof now or something, then that's you just kind of
now in that, the example she gave, let's say 2019 to 2025, that is 6 years. So if the landlord had done it from 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 10,
it's a gradual,
yes,
2 times 10. Like that kind of thing. If they swear for you, you can die now. No, I'm serious. It's enough for somebody to come and be doing something, Mr. Landlord, go mad.
So do you think that landlords are greedy? Some landlords are greedy. Yes. Wait now, let's ask the person that we've got as a guest.
I mean, some landlords are definitely. But when you look, like I said, when you're talking about these things or thinking about it, you have to look at it broadly, right? In terms of
maybe, you know what? Maybe just needs to go and talk to a landlord after this.
Okay, go ahead.
So, like I said, you look at it broadly in terms of what does it cost to produce that house, and then what is the value of rent across, like you're going to compare it, across other markets. So like I said before, the rent that we're paying in Nigeria is one of the cheapest in Africa. Can fact check me. So the problem is that why it's a shock to all of us is because they adjusted rapidly, and that's because of the inflation that happened between 2023 and 2024, the Naira devaluation and everything that happened. So it kind of skyrocketed everything, and that's the shock that we're feeling. I mean, cars, Corolla, this Uber Corolla now currently sells for like 8 million. How much? That car was 750K in, I think, 2018 or thereabout. So it's the same effect.
Like an actual Corolla?
Yeah.
I was going to ask something. I don't think it was 750,000.
No, it's 750.
Here's what I'm going to say. If you're going to be comparing with other countries, and you have to also compare people's wages in other countries, don't just compare when it is convenient.
Yes.
Number one. So if, for example, an accountant is on level 5, I'm just using an example, and is earning XYZ in Nigeria, what is that person earning in Ghana or Sierra Leone or Ivory Coast that you want to use to that's the reason why I mentioned these African countries versus mentioning developed countries. We earn almost the same. You sure?
Yes, we earn almost, like, we won't say Ghanaians or people in Benin Republic are living better than us. So the earnings are the same, but they pay this ridiculous rent too.
And now let me also speak on an area that I'm familiar with. A lot of the buildings in the Lekki area, are empty. So what are they doing? Because it doesn't make any sense. And then if you go online, for example, and you search 5-bedroom, terrace, duplex, whatever, Lekki phase 1, there's websites now. Back in the day, you would call an agent, and the agent would take you around. Now it's more, there's Instagram pages, there's TikTok, there's all sorts of websites that they update every day. You see new builds in a particular area, let's say like in Bagada, for example. I'm just giving an example. This is not, and it is that 10M. But this house that has been standing since the 90s is also the same 10M with no major renovation. What is then, apart from this abracadabra numbers you are doing, what is then the justification if a new build that nobody has lived in is 10M and your house that has been here is now 30-something years is also 10M? Again, make it make sense.
You say you don't want to hear the numbers, but it is what it is.
Do you understand? If a new build, it's like a new car. A brand new car is this amount. Why are you bringing your Tokumbo and saying it's the same amount as this brand new car that has been used and used and used, and you not do anything to it?
So again, a trader puts a certain price in the market. If you feel it doesn't make sense to you, you go to another place, ba. So if you're saying that the rent for an old house should be lower, it's the market that will determine. So if nobody rents that house at that price, the landlord will be forced to bring it down. So the reason why it is also going up is because people are renting it. And people are renting it because the demand is high. So, that is the issue.
Is the demand really high, bro?
If you cannot afford it,
if you drive around these buildings, a lot of them are empty. There's to let everywhere. So who is taking these houses that they are increasing prices on? And then there are also the people who are saying you must have, because they do a lot of screening. Some people say they don't want a single woman. Some people don't want a single guy. Some people say they don't want people of a certain tribe, which I feel is very wrong. The same thing with discriminating against people because they're not married or whatever it is. I remember one time we were looking for a house, and then the man told us to enter his living room, and he asked us questions. You, what do you do? I said what I did. You, what do you do? Husband said what he did. And then the fact that we didn't have conventional jobs, his face kind of fell. And it was just like, he didn't tell us to our faces that, no, I don't want to give you. As soon as we left, within 5 minutes, the agent said, he said no. Because I guess maybe because I didn't work in a bank or I'm not a lawyer or whatever the case may be. So people have different parameters for how they choose their tenants. But these people, has anybody's income increased ×5 in the last year? So how are we supposed?
Maybe not ×5. Back to what you were saying. There's somebody that we know that was looking for a place. She'd gone there. She looked at it like a few times. One agent had taken her there. She's like, I want it. It wasn't cheap, and it was like a newly built, And for some odd reason, the guy was just giving her different stories. In the end, the place was rented. It wasn't, I think the fact that she was a single woman obviously had something to do with it. And then they rented it to some questionable characters.
Yeah, so that is a different argument. So we have...
But they were male.
I've talked about how... So I think I've explained the price, right? Okay. Then the other conversation is now, who are people affording these things? Yeah, I cannot explain that. There's a lot of crazy things happening in the market. Let me give you an example. My lawyer was put in charge of a property, about 8 flats in Lekki Phase 1. The rent was, I think, between 18 to 20. No, I think the landlord started from 25 million, went to 25. And then there are 3 bedrooms. So they brought it down to 20. So my lawyer told me they rented that in between 18 to 20. And the youngest person, or was it the oldest? The age range basically was between 25 to 28, the people that rented these apartments. I don't know.
Wait, sorry. You said rent, sorry. I mean, I'm
8 units of 3-bedroom apartments in Lekki Phase 1.
Each one
rented
is
between
bedroom,
18 to 20 million.
25M, yeah.
And the lawyer told me that the age of the people that rented that thing was 25 to 28. So you cannot make your argument on what these people do for a living.
I think,
But the fact that people are paying it is the reason why landlords are putting these crazy prices.
Emotions aside, 2 things can be true. Yes, the market is dictating the prices, but I also feel like a lot of landlords are being greedy, especially if you've not done anything substantial to change or to improve the condition where the the property is. Another thing I was going to touch on is, so you see they say rent X amount, then you see agency, then you see legal 10%, this one, then you see service charge, then you see what's the other one, caution. I'm just like, why are we even in some cases I hear some people complain and they say, oh, maybe they've lived in a building for a year and then they are renewing and they don't put any lawyers involved, they just pay like the normal rent or whatever, the lawyer and the landlord is asking for legal, but there was no lawyer involved. So which legal now, brother? Yeah,
so that's an anomaly. But before I go into that, let me just take you back a little.
Baby, let her get talk, please.
Also, let me take you back a little. Now, there's this trend where there's this video that is going viral where a major Shortlet investor was complaining that he had shut down a Shortlet. I don't know if you've seen that video. Now, you see that the market is reacting because Shortlet owners have priced themselves out of the market. The prices are too expensive. They are not providing real value, so people are not going back to hotels. So it's the point I'm making that if you're complaining that the rents are too high, people will stop paying those rents and the landlords will be forced to bring them down. So the reason the rents are still going up is because people are paying for it.
Also, the government is not intervening. If they intervene like a like a normal country, for example, and they say, look, yes, the market is saying one thing, but we have to balance this here, and it cannot go beyond XYZ%, because the government is supposed to protect the people. And if you're not protecting the people, then what are you doing? Do you understand? That's one. This is why there has to be laws against these things. I have to say, and no shade, and yes, plenty shade to all the real estate. Maybe you are one of the few decent ones I've met. They are always the ones, every time they'll say, I'll meet you at the property. They never have a car. But if you're taking 10% of every building that you are renting out or selling, surely by now you should have made some money, Mr. Agent.
Wait, are you talking about agents or real estate developers?
Real estate agents, they never have a car. Every time. I'll meet you at the bus stop. Am I lying?
Inspection fees.
You're collecting inspection. And then I have to say, have you also seen the sorry state that some landlords or agents leave buildings? We were looking at some buildings sometime, and we went, all the doors were off. The house was nice. All the doors were off the hinges. And they were asking for a ridiculous amount of money in my book because of the condition. It had to be painted. Some things had to be done. Like, imagine all these doors, they are removed from the hinges. So we're like, okay, can we reduce the price so that then we take on like the cost of repairing and putting together back this place? They said, no, take it or leave it. The place was dirty. They had swept. They didn't pack the dirt. And while I'm like, why are we like this? Sometimes they take pictures. The place looks like a horror zone. And that picture is online. And I'm like, what are we doing? If you are trying to charge these amounts, and at least make it look presentable.
Because they know somebody will pay for it like that.
I was actually going to say it's back to what he said, right? So for some odd reason, I've been seeing a lot of these videos online where there was this girl, I can't remember her name, but there was this girl that was looking for somewhere to stay, like somewhere to rent, and she literally was just documenting the whole process. And there were some properties that she went into. that I was like, this is an
Horrific,
uncompleted
yeah.
building.
It looks like
And-
a shadow of death.
And it looks like somebody got murdered there. It was just horrible. And then they were still like, rent was still like sort of, 2 million and everything. And I was just like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Now I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about one thing that irks me, because you can talk about, the market, value,
Economics
things,
of it,
yes,
yeah.
all of that. But one thing that irks me, one thing that I just find very, very interesting, is that you can have like this new build, and they'll tell you 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion.
Isn't that
yeah.
what Scott Guma was shouting for last year?
Is that what?
Can't you remember? Something, real estate company. Can't you remember that guy from last year? You don't know Scott Guma?
Oh, yeah.
You
that
sit
guy
in
that-
his camp screaming.
But so they have, you say 1.2 billion, you have like a plunge pool, not like a full pool, a plunge pool, where you can maybe just like maximum 4 or 5 of you can enter. And then there is not one tree or a garden. Like, so I can understand, Lagos, like, I feel like Nigeria, certain parts of Nigeria, very expensive. I can understand that, because sometimes it is what it is. Like, for example, if you're, I do this randomly where I look at properties in New York, and I'm like, a prisoner has more space in their cell than this studio apartment. It's crazy. But my thing is, why are real estate developers, why do they prioritize things like pools over having space to just sit down? Like, imagine I have this house that I paid 1.2 billion for, and I don't have a garden. I can't even just sit there and just, there's no tree, there's nothing. You enter my house, it's just marble everywhere. Then you have this, then what should be your backyard is like a pool. And it's not even like a big pool. So why do real estate developers seem to prioritize that?
Is what you see the people want to give to them. Now, there's this video. If you go to Dino Melaye's page, the senator, he recently bought a house in Lekki, where he showed off. Like, if you go to his page, you see there. If you see the pool in his house, very tiny, like you cannot stand, you have to stand on the edge of the pool. Then you imagine if somebody like Dino Melaye, rich, well-traveled, exposed, can buy that type of thing. Then imagine the average rich man. I don't know if you get the point.
I was
buy that
gonna
kind
say,
of
do you know what I was
thing.
gonna say? It's Dino.
No, but Dino is
You see-
exposed, he's well-traveled, do you understand? But see, even me that's in the business, I was shocked that somebody like that could buy that nonsense.
Let me
There's
not start talking about Dino, because
Before he says
you
ring
So,
light
so the
for
fact
us,
is that people
so-
are buying it. So
yeah, I
it's-
think he's maybe like an exception, because if I want to talk about Dino, that's a different.
I think Nigerians need to learn to demand better. And it's showing. I mean, it's showing in politics, it's showing now in real estate, and it's showing in so many things.
It's showing in so many different areas. I think that
like let me again go back to the shortlet market, right? Because I know I started doing shortlets in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Shortlets used to be very shabby. Somebody would just like paint somewhere, put like average furniture and just rent it there. But over time, the market was not taken from people that started to like spend a lot on furniture.
Mm-hmm.
So those people that were putting like substandard furniture, they had to upgrade it because it's what the
Yeah.
market was asking for.
Yeah.
So you see that more shortlet apartments started to look better because the people that were the customers, people that were paying for it wanted more. And you see that the quality of shortlet apartments, got better because there's a lot of options, right? So it's the same thing with the rental and the purchase market she talked
so
about.
you're saying that people are demanding this, because do you know how many
So the
people
problem
that have
is-
gone to visit, like friends that have gone to see that they live like in a mini estate, there's a pool, and nobody uses the pool. Like, nobody uses the pool, and it's just there taking up space. There was another building that I saw that I was just like, okay, who is doing this? This building, again, it was like, I think they said this was like 650 or something. And this building had a pool on the ground floor and a pool on the rooftop.
Doesn't make any sense.
I was like, well, okay, so I could understand. Like, if I was to build my own house, I'll definitely have like a rooftop pool, but I would like to have space to just, sit down and just think. Because I was just like, why do you need 2 pools?
Okay, let me shock you.
Do you have like an Olympic
Let me
swimmer
shock
or
you.
something?
So there's this set of developers I know that are built in Ikota. I think it's West End Estate. So they built on the similar size of land. One didn't put a pool, just a normal house with the driveway. Then another one put a pool, like what this
Small pools.
bathtubs. Do you understand?
It's a
Now the guy that does that didn't have a pool sold for 250. Why this one with a pool sold for 350? What do you think is going to happen next time this guy that sold for 250 is going to do?
He'll go and put a pool, no
Yeah,
matter
he's
how
gonna-
tiny.
he's gonna
It
put like
Because
a
he has
gutter.
seen that the market has agreed to it. So that is the thing. So there are some things I see that don't make sense to me. There are some properties you see that this thing does not look good, like the finishing is bad, but somebody will still pay for it. So
Okay.
the question cannot be, or will I say, the challenge should not be, how do we make sure that, because you can assume that maybe it's illegitimate money that's being used to buy these things. Then it's not left for the government to now make sure that illegitimate money does not enter this thing. Because somebody that is just trying to like wash his money can buy anything. Because I want to believe that somebody that worked hard for his money will be more, will scrutinize, will be more careful on what
Discerning.
they are spending. But someone that just wants to let go of the money will buy anything.
Sorry, this is another thing I've noticed as well. So again, this is sort of what like another pet peeve that I have, as well as the like making by force, putting a pool that you have to like hug the side of your house to get to. Why are some of these like very, very grand houses, like they will have like, floor to ceiling, like windows in the living room and everything, but the kitchen is tiny?
Because a lot of the developers are men. No, and they're not taking into cognizance the space that you need in the kitchen. A lot of them they don't consult with women to say, okay, look, how should this look?
But women are majorly the decision makers. Like most properties that are bought, you always hear, oh, my madam is coming. And the woman comes, sees the kitchen and they buy it like that.
With the small kitchen.
Yeah, they buy it like that. Most decisions,
Women.
house for sale decisions are made by women.
Ask for better.
You know what? I get
So
what
if the women come to the house and say, oh, I'm not buying this house because of the kitchen, and then she goes to buy another house with a bigger kitchen, developers are going to take note of that and make the kitchens bigger.
So so let me play because
No, I'm not fighting. I have questions about law.
So I was going to say that I completely get your point. I think it's very, very unfair to go from like, to quadruple or even more on the rent. But then I also get what he's saying because there's a market for it. There's a market for it. There are people that are buying. There are people that are like this property that I mentioned. I mean, I feel like when I heard what the rent was, I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's crazy. And guess what? People came. People moved in. So it's mad.
Rent is like a lottery now.
It's mad.
Like if you are almost you have 20 people bidding for the same apartment. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
And landlords they will notice that and then they will just start jacking the prices.
Is there a
up.
law against discrimination when it comes to tenants, for example? Is there a law that says you cannot deny anyone based off of gender or
tribe
or race or tribe or whatever? Is there a law and they're ignoring it, or there is no law?
I don't think there's any law to that
Because
effect.
there's two things I want to mention. First thing is, when I first moved back, there was this very popular real estate magazine that was free at the time. So it was front to back, several pages of available property for rent, for lease, for sale. And I was shocked. Again, this was 2005. I was shocked to see they wrote no XYZ tribe right there. And I was like, why? How can, and why is so it's not like, there's no proof. Why is this being allowed? I remember when I was on the radio, I saw one where they said, no Nigerians, only Indians. And I actually called them on the radio and cussed them out. Because I was like...
I don't think that one is allowed. I know
I was
that
like,
was a period, I think, was it 2 years ago?
So they can say no Indians,
That was a supermarket where they said no Nigerians.
No Nigerians.
The Chinese supermarket.
Yes,
that became... So
and they shut it down, but...
This is the building, that's the Chinese supermarket, that's it here.
This January, where they stop Nigerians to enter the supermarket.
We just confirmed that, okay, you cannot go in as a Nigerian. They stop allowing Nigerians to buy things.
I know for that one, but for...
So if somebody says no Igbo, is that allowed?
There's no law against it, like, clearly. But you also have to think about the reasoning behind it.
What reasoning?
You have to think about the reasoning behind it.
What could be the reason? What could be the valid reason?
So, again, market adapts based on experiences, right? So landlords, like I was mentioning with the case of developers, something happens, the news spreads. This person says, I put a pool and I was able to sell this house for this amount. So next I'm going to put a pool. So when I discussed, I made a video on this, right? Because I'm an Igbo person, I experienced it. And the common response I got was that Igbos don't make good tenants. that Igbos, if they always try to like buy the place, they are very stubborn in renewing rent and stuff like that. So that is why a lot of landlords discriminate against Igbos. Now, I'm not saying it's all Igbos, but when multiple people make the same complaint about the same people, you should, calm down and think about why these people are doing like that. Because all the landlords want money. So there's no way a landlord is rejecting money and think it's just because it's tribalistic. It's because of something he has experienced or something he has heard his friend
It still
experience.
doesn't make it right, though.
It doesn't make it right.
What about this discrimination against single women? Because that is still happening.
Yeah, it's the same reason with Igbos. Single women,
But what do single women do? I'm not single, but what do single women do that is causing people to turn them away when they have the money to pay and they have a good job? So what is the issue?
So the idea, this is not me speaking. Now, the idea is that single women depend on people to pay the rent, right? So now maybe they might have a boyfriend that pays the first rent and then they won't be able to renew it or something. So that is the idea. And then also women, they don't cooperate, right? I've lived in a compound. I mean, these are experiences that I've seen and I've heard.
He's saying what
No, I'm not saying him.
I'm just telling you what is happening.
I'm not saying him. I'm just saying like.
So if you have a place where you have a lot of women, you see that things kind of deteriorate faster because it's hard for them to cooperate. This is what I've experienced multiple cases. Now, where I was living before, we had 6 terraces. When I moved into that place, it was just men, right? Only one married man. The rest of us were single men then. The place was calm, peaceful, clean. Anytime there was, let's gather money for this thing. Everybody donates. So as those guys, some of them traveled, some of them got married and left that place. The landlord now, filled the place with, I think about 3 of them now became women. Everything started to deteriorate in the compound. Oh, you knock on this door, I don't have money. And you cannot, like if a guy tries to be stubborn when we want to contribute for something, you can harass him, you can shout at him, you can do things to him, and nobody says anything about it. But that's the way you handle a woman and you're harassing her.
That was not my experience. But let me, okay, 1 second. I also have people that manage shared apartments, right? You see 3-4 guys stay in an apartment, you barely hear any problem there, right? But if you have 3-4 women in the same apartment, there's always problem. Like that's what my friend manages. This person refused to bring money for light. Then the one of the neighbors or one of the flatmates is saying, "Oh, let's us disconnect. Let's us only put light in this room and stuff like that." So women, it's difficult for women to cooperate. This is I'm not. If we are to be sincere with ourselves, to know that these things are true. I don't agree.
That is why these are things that landlords have seen. These are things that landlords have seen, and they are saying, "Okay, we just want to prevent the problem."
Respectfully,
I literally don't even know what to say.
because what, I remember when I have a friend who was looking for he had moved back and was looking for an apartment and he wanted to stay in Ikoyi, and he found this apartment that he really liked, just off of the main road, and they were like, "Oh, this place is only no Nigerian lives here. It's only foreigners. We only give to foreigners." He was like, "I'm not a foreigner. Clearly, I'm Nigerian. I look Nigerian. I have the money. I want to pay for 2 years." And the person was like, "Is your wife at least Oyibo?" No.
So
the person was like, so your wife is not even Oyibo. Sorry, you can't live here. I was like, what?
No, that's rubbish. You can't discriminate against a Nigerian for a foreigner in Nigeria. So you can't do that.
Like, I just thought that was very weird. Now, one of my first apartments, the reason why I said I disagreed with you, one of my first apartments that I lived in, at that time they had not coordinated a few things. Like, it was a very new build, so there was no electricity, for example, at first, just to show you how new it was. And then there was also no coordination when it came to taking up our refuse. So we agreed with some guy to come pick it up, I think weekly or something. And that time it was 2K per flat, and it was the married man with children that was dodging 2K. He drove a Mercedes SUV. That's somebody's head of home, dodging 2,000 naira to take away your trash. I thought that was shameful. Like, why? It was them. But every other person cooperated. But I was just like, this is somebody's head of home, dodging 2,000 naira in 2015 to carry dustbin. Those were the people. Those were people that you wear suits in the morning, crisp tie.
Maybe you just don't got it.
But you're driving a Mercedes SUV. You are father to 3 children. When you come out, they call you daddy. But daddy is dodging 2K. Every time we would go to collect the money, so the guy, he'll be like, they'll say he's sleeping. He'll say he's sleeping because of 2,000 naira. And then all of us it was a row of young people. I think we're all in our 20s, early 30s. Mostly women, actually. It was only one guy. Everybody paid up except this fellow. Every time it was time to pay for. So I was there for 2 years. every time I was just like, what the hell?
I would say that's an anomaly. What is more common is women. Like when I moved to the island, I was staying in Naija. We were 4 guys in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a day one of the girlfriends of one of the guys came, and she was like, all the times I've been coming here, I've never seen people quarrel. It's not normal. If it was 4 girls that were here, I would be fighting, stuff like that. This was a woman telling us then. So it's just, it's just the way things are.
Okay. So basically, I would need to jump in. You're on a show with 2 women, and you've basically said that women don't cooperate, women are quarrelsome, women are this, women are that.
How long have I worked with you now, please? Since 2009. How many quarrels have we had, please?
Okay, at least 2.
Only 2.
At least
I think that's okay. In 17 years, that's okay.
So when time you hear things like that in the market, just try and figure out what the reasoning is behind
No,
it.
but
Because nobody will just
even-
reject
but
money.
even though
So
I
why
think
is this person
I think
rejecting money?
So if we're going to be real, it's extremely unacceptable to refuse to rent to refuse to rent to somebody because the person's a single woman, to refuse to rent to somebody because they're of a particular
it's
tribe.
not proper.
And
Yes.
the one that irks me is hearing that in this country, as a Nigerian, somebody can say, I refuse to rent to you because you're Nigerian and you're not foreign. Like, it's crazy. And there's certain things that I think it was you that said it. I think we just need to really demand better as people, because there's certain things that should not happen.
Exactly.
This whole foreigner thing, I remember there was one time I went to a pharmacy or something, and some guy that was not Nigerian, clearly, we're all waiting to pay. He literally just got what he wanted. He went to the front of the queue. And what pissed me off is the person was about to...
Until you guys said something.
No, I was the only one. And I was like maybe 2-3 years fresh back. So I was still very much like, this ain't right, I was thinking, but I was like, literally, I was like, what are you doing? This guy was not even in the queue. He picked something, came to the front, and you're about to... I was like, are you mad? Are you crazy? I went off, and then they were now like, oh, they started begging me, like, please let him. And I was just like, no, he needs to go to the back of the queue, and wait. So I think that part of the equation, I definitely think that there needs to be, definitely some kind of government intervention, because it's very unfair. Because I know lots of very, very, very successful women who they have money. They have money. And to think that you're like the senior something you've been doing, it's not like you just started or you've been doing that for years, you're like the director of this or whatever, and to be refused an apartment because, you might not be able to pay next year because you might break up with your boyfriend.
That's
so
ridiculous.
again, it underpins.
And then you now see
the
some,
base of
what
the
do you call
problem.
them? Is it Azar boys? I mean, what do you call them? Is that what
Yahoo boys.
Yahoo boys? You now see them in the same building that you're just like, wait, is it not this one that's likely to go to jail next year now?
So the core of the problem is that demand and supply, because the landlord knows that if I turn this lady back, somebody else will come and pay for it. But if I knew that, there's a lot of options for this woman to rent, then anyone that comes to me, I'll treat her properly. Because I know if I send this woman away, if I send this Igbo man away, somebody else will still rent my apartment. So that's why they're able to do.
What is
what
the
they do.
law? What does the law say about agency fees, legal fees? Is there any law about that?
Yes.
Okay.
So Lagos State, legally, agency fee is capped at 5%.
Okay, so why do they always ask for 10%?
Agency fee is capped at 5%. For legal fees, it is the person that brings the lawyer that's supposed to pay the legal fee. I know in most cases, it's the landlord that owns the lawyer, but the landlord still collects the legal fee from the tenant.
Ole.
Do you understand?
Uh-huh.
Because now the agreement that lawyer is drafting is in favor of the landlord. But yet the tenant is forced to pay for an agreement that is against them. So the law in Lagos State is that the person that brings the lawyer is supposed to pay the legal fee. So that 10%, most times the landlord is supposed to pay for it.
So what do we do?
The agency fee is capped at 5%. But again, like I said, the problem because there's that demand, that demand, so the supply is low. So most people, like if I go to a house now, I want to rent it, and then they tell me all these fees, I say I'm not paying. They'll say, okay, no problem.
Bye.
Next day somebody comes and
what
pays for
arm
it.
of government are you supposed to report to?
LASRERA, Lagos
case like
State
this.
Real Estate Regulatory Agency.
Okay.
But then with the problem in Nigeria, enforcement is poor. So even if you report to them, what would they do?
Okay.
Do you understand? So
The
somebody will be out there
person
to pay for
that's
it.
supposed to come might be the landlord's friend or something. You don't know.
Exactly.
So what would you advise? Because there are lots of people from all over the country moving to Lagos, obviously for like better opportunities, better this, better that. What would you advise them to do? Because some of these videos are scary. Some of these videos you see where they're like, okay, the agent took me here, and you know this is, and it's literally like it's like a bathroom that they've converted into like a into like a full apartment. So what would you advise? What would you advise them to do? What do they need to look out for? Like structurally, all these different things. How can you tell that this is going to be a problem property for me?
That's a very broad question. And it depends on your, let's say, your income class. So if you're a high earner, then you can have choices. But somebody that is coming in, just looking for 1-bedroom apartment, 1 million, 2 million, you don't really have a lot of options. Anything you see, take it like that. Because anything you see, take it like that. But somebody that has the money, you cannot say, okay, make sure the road is good, make sure you take note of what the service charges are. Make sure you have internet. Like, there was a place I stayed at for like 2-3 months. I couldn't receive calls in that apartment.
Wow.
Do you understand? The network was bad. And then in that place, the electricity rate was 450 naira per kilowatt. Do you understand? I was spending about 100K every 5 days.
God, I beg.
Do you understand? So there are a lot of things.
And you were living alone there?
Yes.
So, I mean, I've been through a lot. I remember when I was looking for my first apartment, one of the places they took me to, you know when you approach a building, there's almost every building has the little space where the security stay, that is security house. They said, I said, where is the place? They said, it's upstairs. So what they did is they built
on top of the security
a room
house.
on top of the security house. So, and then the staircase was, first of all, it was this rickety staircase. So I was holding on for dear life. Wind was blowing that day. I said, God, don't let wind blow me. So we got there and literally you could walk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. And that was the whole apartment. Bathroom, kitchen, everything. I was like, I can see a toilet. Where's the shower? The guy said, look up. So you are showering over the toilet. That's not life now.
It's called a wet room.
That's terrible. You can fall and die. Because why? That was one. Another one I saw, this one was more spiritual, right? It was an apartment, it was a block of flats. They took me to this flat. And I think the person who was there before was either a devil worshiper or had serious mental problems. Because the place was dark. It didn't have normal white light or yellow light. The lights were like purple. So imagine it looked like a shrine. First of all, you enter. I kid you not, the light was like purple. Then inside the bedroom was red. Then on the wall, the person had drawn this life-size devil figure. I kid you not, with horns. And I swear it was that Baphomet figure. And my spirit just I felt dizzy in the moment. I was like, blood of Jesus. I ran out. I was like, nobody.
But was the price good?
I didn't bother to think about the price again. Because I was thinking to myself, again, and this is why why didn't you paint over that? And so let's not even if you be having alakala, you know what they call alakala in Yoruba, bad dreams in the night. You don't know that the person there was worshiping the devil, but it was so weird. Like I had goosebumps.
Just like he said, somebody probably took it and I just was like, okay, we'll just paint.
Maybe that person is a devil worshiper because there's no way anybody.
Let me give you an example in this regard. There was a house I wanted to rent, very nice house in Ikota. But in front of the house, there was this masquerade shrine. Right? And the house was perfect.
Masquerade shrine.
Yes, masquerade shrine. And even sometimes they blocked the road for the masquerade to display. I came there like 2 weeks later. They've rented the whole place. So some people does.
You did what? Sorry, say that again.
They had rented the whole place.
They rented less than 2 weeks. They rented Ikota village. People took it. Okay, in front of the house, there's the shrine. You'll see the drawings of the masquerade, and from time to time they come out. I think every month or so.
Where we used to work, there were rows of shops opposite the building. And there was one building like this that was painted a certain color that never had, every business that came there never succeeded. They will fold up. So my colleague was now telling us, so what happened was, it was a Friday night. He had closed from work around 9, and then he was waiting to hang out with his friends. So he was still, as somebody said, he should come and say something. Come and say something. And what was happening is that they had dug up the front of the building opposite where we were working, and they were burying live ducks. Dogs or ducks? Ducks. Okay. DUCK. Burying them. They were alive. They were buried. They threw them in there, and then they covered them with cement and buried and sealed the place. So the next, I came on Monday and he was giving me this, and he was like, that patch, where he said
freshly cemented
they
patch.
did some spiritual stuff there. Watch, no business will thrive there. I was there for a long time. No business thrived there.
Who Who was bearing it?
Some people, some men.
So not the owners of the building.
We don't know. It was nighttime, so they just buried the thing. Cover. I was just like, you. So again, apart from my point is, apart from the normal things when you're renting an apartment or a house, go during rainy season to see if the street floods. Try to make a call or two. Check the internet. Ask questions. Maybe if the landlord is a weary. I heard some landlords say don't bring gen. So even if they take lights, that's your business. You sweat there because they don't like noise.
There was a
Gem will
story
go by 10.
Yeah, there was a story going around on social media where somebody's landlord said the gen has to be off by 9.
What's that? All sorts of things. And then also pray that you will not be, that your destiny will not be tied because you don't even know what.
I think the best thing to do is, when you've concluded you want to get a place, it's best to ask like shops around, people around to give you information. People, I've noticed that people are very willing to give you, to advise you, to tell you what's happening. And that helped me. That's usually the last thing I do. After I check the basic things, does this place have water? Does it have internet? Is the light good? Basic things. Then I now go around, all those shops, all those people that, live around. I just ask them, I want to rent this house. Is there any information for me? People.
You need to ask if you're living in like a, like a little estate, or if you're living like in a building flat. You need to ask about your neighbors as well. There was when we first got married and we were renting. There was everything was fine. And then we now got some new neighbors. They were up above us. So first of all, like 2 a.m. in the,
Party.
during the week, you'll be hearing music. And then the weed. So we had to complain like several times. Eventually, I think a lot of people complained. So thankfully, where we stayed, it was quite nice. Neighbors were nice and everything. And like a few people complained and they had to, they ended up kicking them out. And it was like crazy hours and then like weed and everything.
Moving away from rent, lots of people are buying of our age group are now buying maybe their first, second, or whatever number of homes, right? And people are also concerned because Nigeria can be sometimes anyhow. Let's be honest. Some people are worried. Some people have bought homes where one day you wake up and you see bulldozers and they're telling you they're going to demolish the home, that sort of thing. So what do you look out for when trying to buy a home or buy a property?
I'll just work with experts in the field, mostly lawyers and surveyors. Those are the most important people you can work with. So any expert you can identify, work with that person, they will guide you through. Because there are a lot of landmines, to be honest. Even myself, I know some mistakes, I narrowly escaped. So there's I can't just say this is what and what you should do. Just identify a good property lawyer, mostly lawyers. Because a good lawyer also work with a surveyor. So identify good property lawyers that will help you with verification process and it should be good.
Everywhere they're selling estate this, estate that, with this amount, you can buy this, you can pay this monthly, blah, blah, blah. And there's some cases where some people are like, I've paid since 3 years ago. You use XYZ celebrity to push this thing. But where is my apartment, or where is my house, or where is my property? They're cheating people up and down.
These are two cases you're bringing. So in case of demolitions, the lawyer will get a surveyor. So there is a master plan of the state. The state says, okay, we are going to put this here, we're going to put this there, right? So what happens is that some developers build and encroach into those places that the government has planned for. And then the government comes and demolishes it to collect their place back. So a good lawyer would have helped you, or will help you to identify, okay, because the state has, like, it's on a map, and then
the plan.
Here, that there's every house has a coordinate, or every property has a coordinate. So a surveyor, a good lawyer will take a surveyor there, map it out, and then go to the master plan of the state and say, okay, this property is sitting properly. It is not encroaching into any plan of the state, right? And then in terms of in terms of, you're paying for something and then you're not getting what you want, right? A good lawyer will also help you to, in the contract, whatever contract you're having with the company, also make sure that your interest is protected. But then it now leads to one of the major problems in this country, our legal system. The judicial system is poor. So even if your lawyer drafts a good agreement and the developer defaults,
enforcing it
is an issue. Going to court through the long process. And so that's also part of the reason why the property prices are expensive, to be honest. Because a lot of people are not bringing in money because of the fear of the legal system. If I know that, because a lot of banks now, if you want to do real estate transactions with them, it's a tedious process because they are not okay with the legal system. But if I get into a contract with Gbemi now and she defaults, I can take her to court, and in a matter of weeks, I get my judgment. You see that more transactions will be happening, more people will be building houses, and the more houses are supplied into the market. You see that to overall help with the soaring cost. But now a lot of investors are weary, they are scared. So they're not able to invest, which is now affecting that supply. And then you have Nigerians giving birth every day. So the, the demand is increasing and then the supply is limited. So
But I know people that have been in property, what's it called, legal disputes for decades.
And have been
Yes.
swindled,
So-
for different things.
Somebody that's, bought this, their dad bought this in 19 something, and then this and this and this has happened. Okay, I think we need to wrap up. You have one
I have one
last
last
question.
question, which brings us to this. Would you advise people to continue to rent, or would you advise people to, like if someone says, what should I do? Should I continue to rent, or should I just look for a home to buy? What advice will you give that person?
I mean, if you can afford it, you buy. Now, one of the mistakes I notice people in our generation make, if you remember our parents, right? What they did then, they would just go to one faraway place and then start building one house for like 8-10 years. And over time, they own a house. But our generation, we want this like instant gratification. And everybody wants to live in Lekki, Ikoyi. But you see people, they went to like Mowe. Even this Lekki Phase 1 everybody's talking about. If you go back, Lekki Phase 1 was like, was an outskirt, right? It was just a swamp. Some people just bought and, over time. I remember when I used to visit my uncle living in VGC. I know that after we passed that 1004, it was like bush before now land in VGC, right? But that man bought it that time, and now it's a very valuable property. But a lot of us, nobody wants to go. Everybody wants to live at the center.
Nobody wants to die on the road. Are you joking?
Yes, I understand that. But our parents also went through that, and they still did that investment.
Traffic was not
so
bad that time.
As a young person, you can for some time you can be renting, but just find somewhere. Buy, and over time, I mean, in your 30s, you can take maybe 10 years to build that, and then in your 40s, when your children are about to enter secondary school or something, your family now has a home, and that's giving your children a base in life. Like for me, when I moved to the island, one of the things that gave me confidence was that I always had where to go to. So if anything happened, if it's spoiled for me, there's a house for me in Ikorodu, I'll go there and start my life again. So it kind of gives your children, confidence, a base, so if you can buy, just look for something within your budget and just start doing it gradually.
If you want to live long, just make sure you don't stay far from your house, from your place of work, your child's school. If not, you will spend your good years in traffic.
But that is actually the reality for a lot of people, because a lot of people have to go really, really, really far out.
That's why,
to be
and
able
that's why
afford
people are
property.
rushing these areas that are close to.
That's where the state government needs to come in. But luckily for us, they're already working on the Lekki Expressway, and then you have the Coastal Road. So commute times between Victoria Island and all those outskirts,
should be shorter.
They'll be shorter now.
My last question, and then we wrap up. Do you think basically investing in shortlets, is that still like a viable? Is it like still a lucrative decision, or is it something that is going?
It's there's a lot of supply now. So even if you want to get into it, you have to be creative. You have to find out. You have to be creative. I won't say it's dying, because I know some people that are succeeding in it, because I understand the models they are using. So just to make sure you understand it, and then you can position. But yes, there's a lot of supply of shortlet apartments. I know a lot of people complaining they are not getting bookings and stuff like that. So yeah.
All right. I want to say thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I wasn't attacking you. I just had a lot of questions.
I do apologize, because every now and then Gbemi was like,
No, I understand
Some
it.
questions. It was a spirited conversation. Just had a lot of questions.
Call your landlord and be like, sir, it's like you're mad.
I can come and live with you, Abby.
I
come and live with you. I know where you live. I just come with my bags like, hi.
I'll be looking at you from the window like, I'm not at home right now. Thank you so much for stopping by. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you so
best
much.
of luck to you if you're looking for like a property to rent, to buy, this Lagos. Hey,
May the Lord be with you.
Amen,
How can people
amen.
find you?
Yeah, social media, bond_not_James. So
Okay.
across all social media.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're about to get into it with Money Zone. Now, listen very carefully. It's not every time that we'll be doing gist. We'll have to talk about real issues. We'll have to figure out how to make money in this economy. All right, so first of all, make sure you download the Moniepoint app. Very, very important. I'm telling you, it will help you, whether you're a business owner or whether you're a 9-to-5er, or you know what, you're just having a good time. Whatever it is you're doing for a living, just make sure you get it, okay? Now, for the business owners, there's something that some people get wrong all the time. There's this
revenue versus, should I say, profit conversation. And a lot of you don't understand that just because you are making sales does not mean that you're making a profit. So you really, really need to take your time to track your transactions, your expenses and stuff. Like I said, many focus on revenue, money entering the account, but they're not thinking about profit. Just because there's money in the account does not mean that you're actually making money. Simple. Yeah. Sales can be high, but your business might be broke. So you might want to look into that. Yeah.
So, for example, whatever you spend, whatever you're spending towards the business, once you make your revenue, you need to take all of that out. So you need to take, if you've got like a physical business, you need to take out the rent. You need to take out your diesel. You need to take out the cost of your staff. You need to take out the cost of your raw materials. You need to take out so many labor costs, all these different things. So if you're looking at, if you're thinking, oh my gosh, you made 10 million, this month, what did it cost you? So that's something that a lot of people should be aware of, because that then tells you what you need to do maybe for the next month, maybe for the rest of the year, to make sure that at the end of the year, you're looking and sitting pretty.
Yeah, it's not just a bank account. It also has something called Moneybook. So Moniepoint has something called Moneybook that basically helps you to track your sales, track your costs, and your performance in one place. So transactions are recorded in real time with Moniepoint. Expenses are clearly visible. So it's called Moneybook. Make sure you explore it when you download the Moniepoint app today. Yep.
All right, it has been a very interesting conversation.
Gbemi was trying to fight our guest.
I wasn't trying to fight. I was just like, it doesn't make any sense.
I know you're about to hold his shirt at one point.
No. I feel like, and it's not even that. It was just that it's something I'm very passionate about, because I think that a lot of people are being treated unfairly. People are, increasing rent prices like mad. It's not fair. Yes, the market this, the market that, but let's also have some common sense, shall we? Anywho,
I think it's a general thing in Nigeria, because the other day we're talking about restaurants, and I went to a restaurant that it was like, I can't remember. I think a starter was like 50. And I'm just like, why? What on earth? Like, what? How did it make sense? But guess what? People are paying.
You know what?
People are paying for that.
When the cameras are off, you tell me, so I will avoid the place.
I'll tell you. Okay. But so people are paying. So if I now complain, they'll be like, oh, you're not our target audience. They will say that to you. When you are literally just saying, okay, first of all, what are you offering me that costs this much?
Target audience, key you did. Nonsense.
I think if you're gonna make things expensive, if you're gonna make things like very expensive, just make sure people get value for their money. Simple. It is that simple. We need to have a full episode on that, because there's so many different things we can talk about in this country. From rentals, from restaurants, from stores, from all these. There's so many different things. I think, let your price match the value.
Let it make sense.
Let it make sense. God bless you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be here next week.